there is something that has been waiting for you, not in the way you might have been told, not in the way that sounds like a promise someone makes to sell you something, not in the way that feels like flattery designed to keep you watching. This is different. What has been waiting for you is structural. It is woven into the fabric of what you are, into the physics of how consciousness moves through reality, into the ancient maps that were drawn before your civilization had words for what they were describing. And what has been waiting has not been passive. It has been pulling. You have felt it. That persistent sense that something is about to shift. That recurring feeling that you are standing at the edge of something enormous without being able to see what it is. That inexplicable certainty that your life is supposed to feel different than it currently does. Not because you are broken, not because you have failed, but because there is a layer beneath the life you are living that you have not yet stepped into. Today, we go beneath that. But first, let me show you the surface version of what you think this is about. Because the surface version is what most people will hear when they encounter the idea of being chosen, of winning, of something being finally and permanently yours. The surface version sounds like spiritual flattery. It sounds like someone telling you that you are special, that the universe has selected you, that you are destined for greatness in some vague and unverifiable way. And if that is what you are expecting, I want you to notice that expectation, because it is itself a surface layer. It is a layer built from years of being sold promises that never landed, of being told you were special in ways that never changed anything, of encountering the language of destiny and chosenness, and then watching nothing actually shift. That surface layer of cynicism is real, it is earned, and it is also the first veil we are going to lift today. Because beneath the flattery, beneath the spiritual marketing language, beneath every watered-down version of this concept that has ever been handed to you, there is something that quantum mechanics has actually mapped. Something that ancient traditions encoded in their most protected teachings. Something that, once you see it, changes the meaning of every moment that led you here, including the moments that felt like failure, like waiting, like being passed over, like being anything but chosen. Let's start with what you think you know. You have heard the word chosen before. You have encountered it in religious contexts, where it carries the weight of divine selection, the idea that some force outside of you reached into the field of all possible people and pointed at you specifically. You have encountered it in motivational contexts, where it becomes a kind of performance. Act like you are chosen, believe you are chosen, manifest your chosenness into reality through the sheer force of positive thinking. You have encountered it in the language of New Age spirituality, where it gets wrapped in the idea of soul contracts and pre-birth agreements, and star seeds, and light workers, and a dozen other frameworks that attempt to explain why some people seem to be moving through life with a sense of purpose, while others feel like they are perpetually in the waiting room. All of those versions have something in them. None of them are the whole picture. And the reason none of them are the whole picture is that they are all describing the phenomenon from the surface. They are describing what chosenness looks like from the outside, what it feels like in the narrative, what it means in the story you tell yourself about your life. but they are not describing what it actually is at the level of structure. They are not telling you what is happening beneath the experience of being chosen. In the quantum field, in the architecture of consciousness, in the ancient understanding of how reality selects and amplifies certain configurations of awareness. That is what we are going to find today, layer by layer, until we reach the core of it. And when we do, you are going to understand something that will make it impossible to experience your life the same way again. Because what is waiting for you is not a reward, it is not a prize, it is not something that gets handed to you from outside. What is waiting for you is a recognition of what you already are at a level so deep that your surface level mind has never been able to see it clearly. And that recognition, once it actually lands, not as a concept, but as a lived reality, that recognition is permanent. That is what the title of this transmission means. That is what it means for something to be yours forever. Not possession, not acquisition, recognition. And recognition, once it occurs, cannot be undone. Let's go beneath the surface. The first layer we need to examine is the layer of waiting itself. Because if you are here, if this transmission found you, there is a high probability that you know what waiting feels like. Not ordinary waiting, not waiting for a bus or waiting for water to boil. The other kind of waiting, the kind that lives in your chest, the kind that has been there for so long that you have almost stopped noticing it because it has become part of the background texture of your experience. The waiting that says, not yet. The waiting that says, something is coming but it is not here. The waiting that says, I can feel the edge of something enormous but I cannot see over it. That waiting has a surface explanation and a deeper one. The surface explanation is psychological. You have desires that have not been fulfilled. You have expectations that have not been met. You have a vision of what your life should look and feel like that does not match your current reality, and the gap between those two things generates a state that your nervous system experiences as waiting. That explanation is accurate. It is also the thinnest possible layer of what is actually happening. Let me show you what is beneath it. In quantum mechanics, there is a phenomenon that most people have heard of, but almost no one has been told the full implications of. It is called superposition. And the surface explanation of superposition is this. A quantum particle, before it is observed, exists in multiple states simultaneously. It is not in one place or another place. It is in all possible places at once, in a state of pure potential, until the moment of observation collapses that potential into a single actuality. The particle is, in a very precise and measurable sense, everywhere and nowhere until it is seen. Now, most people hear that and think, interesting physics fact, strange thing about tiny particles, has nothing to do with my life. But here is the layer beneath that. The principle of superposition does not stop at the level of subatomic particles. The mathematics that describes quantum behavior does not contain a line that says, this only applies below a certain scale. What physicists have discovered, and what the implications of quantum mechanics have been pointing towards since the early 20th century, is that the principle of superposition describes something fundamental about the nature of reality itself. Not just about particles, about possibility, about the relationship between potential and actuality, about what it means for something to exist. Before something is real in the way you experience reality, before it is fixed, before it is solid, before it is a fact of your life rather than a possibility, it exists in a state of superposition. It is all of its possible versions simultaneously. It is the life where it happened and the life where it did not. It is the version of you who received it and the version of you who waited forever. All of those are real in the quantum sense. All of those are present in the field of possibility. And what collapses that field, what takes all of those simultaneous possibilities and selects one of them to become your lived experience, is observation, is awareness, is the quality of attention that you bring to the field of your own life. Do you feel what is beneath that? The waiting is not a gap between where you are and where you are going. The waiting is a superposition state. You are, right now in a quantum sense, already in possession of everything that has been feeling like it is waiting to arrive. It exists in the field. It is real in the way that all quantum possibilities are real, which is to say, more real than you have been taught to consider possible. The question is not whether it will come. The question is what quality of awareness will collapse the superposition. What kind of observation will select the reality in which what has been waiting is finally, permanently yours? Here is what no teacher tells you about this. Have you spent years trying every surface fix, therapy, mindset work, manifestation, habit redesign, and the same patterns keep coming back in different clothes? Every one of those tools is working on belief and behavior. The actual pattern was installed deeper than any of them can reach. Beneath the veil, a quantum map of reality's hidden layers walks through the full 5-layer descent, the surface reality you were handed, the layer where the pattern was actually installed, the physics underneath that, the ancient traditions that mapped the same thing thousands of years ago, and what you actually are at the bottom of all of it. This is the layer that therapy, mindset work, and manifestation could never reach. The longer you keep working the surface, the longer that deeper layer keeps generating the same life. So do this one tonight. It's waiting in the pinned comment below. Now back to the thread we were following. If this transmission is reaching the layer it was meant to reach, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. It helps more people find their way beneath the surface. But there is a layer beneath that. Because quantum mechanics, as profound as it is describing the mechanism. It is showing you the physics of how potential becomes actual. What it is not telling you, what it cannot tell you, because it is a science of measurement rather than a science of meaning, is why certain configurations of awareness have the power to collapse possibility into the specific realities they are pointed toward. Why some people seem to move through the world with a kind of gravitational pull that draws what they are oriented toward into actuality, while others seem to orbit around their desires without ever landing in them. For that layer, we go to the ancient maps. The traditions that understood this did not call it quantum mechanics. They did not have that language. But they had the concept. They had it in precise and sophisticated forms that were encoded in myth, in ritual, in the architecture of sacred spaces, in the structure of initiatory practices that were designed to do one thing: shift the quality of awareness of the person undergoing them from surface perception to depth perception, from looking at the world to seeing through it. In the Vedic tradition of ancient India, the concept was called dharma, and the surface translation of dharma is duty or righteousness or right action. But that translation is the thinnest layer of what dharma actually means. Beneath the translation, dharma describes something structural. It describes the specific pattern of being that is yours. Not yours in the sense of something you choose, but yours in the sense of something you are. The particular configuration of qualities, capacities, and orientations that constitutes your unique expression of consciousness. Your dharma is the shape of your awareness. And when you are living in alignment with that shape, when your actions, your attention, and your understanding are all oriented from the deepest layer of what you actually are, the tradition says that reality moves toward you rather than away from you, not as a reward, as a structural consequence. The way water moves toward the lowest point, not because the ground is rewarding the water, but because that is the nature of the relationship between water and the shape of the terrain. The ancient Egyptians encoded something similar in the concept of ma'at. The surface translation is truth, or justice, or cosmic order. But beneath that, Mahat described the fundamental alignment between an individual's being and the structure of reality itself. The Egyptians believed, and this is crucial, that certain individuals were not just living in reality, but were, in some structural sense, expressions of reality's own organizing principle, not chosen arbitrarily, not selected by divine favoritism, but aligned, tuned to the frequency of the underlying order of things in a way that made them, in a very specific sense, conduits for what reality was trying to express through the human domain. The Lakota tradition speaks of something called Wakan Tanka, the Great Mystery, and within that tradition, certain individuals are understood to carry what is called medicine, not medicine in the pharmaceutical sense, medicine in the sense of a particular power or pattern that the world needs expressed. The tradition teaches that this medicine is not something you develop or earn. It is something you recognize, something you remember, something that was always yours and that becomes active, becomes real in the world, the moment your awareness is deep enough to see it clearly. Do you feel the pattern across these traditions? None of them are describing chosenness as external selection. None of them are describing a divine being reaching into a crowd and pointing at someone arbitrarily. They are all describing the same thing from different angles, a structural alignment between a particular configuration of consciousness and a particular pattern of reality, such that when the alignment is recognized, when the awareness is deep enough to see it, something shifts. Something that was in superposition collapses into actuality. Something that was waiting becomes permanently present, hidden in plain sight. Now let me take you to a layer that is even deeper than this, because what we have been examining so far, the quantum mechanics of superposition, the ancient understanding of structural alignment, These are still, in a sense, descriptions of a mechanism. They are still answering the question of how. What I want to show you now is the layer beneath the how, the layer that answers the question of what. What are you, actually? Not the surface answer, not the biographical answer, the name, the history, the collection of experiences and choices and relationships that constitute the story of your life. Not even the psychological answer, the patterns, the wounds, the gifts, the particular shape of your personality. Beneath all of that, what are you? Quantum field theory, the deepest layer of our current physical understanding of reality, describes the universe not as a collection of objects in space, but as a field. A single, unified, continuous field of quantum energy from which particles arise and into which they dissolve. What you experience as a solid object, a table, a wall, your own body, is, at the quantum level, a localized pattern of excitation in this field, a temporary configuration of energy that has achieved enough coherence to appear solid, to appear separate, to appear like a thing rather than a process. You are not a thing. You are a process. You are a pattern of excitation in the quantum field that has achieved sufficient coherence to experience itself as a self. And here is what that means for everything we have been talking about. If you are a pattern in the field, a specific, unique, unrepeatable configuration of quantum energy, then what you are drawn toward, what you are oriented toward, what has been pulling at you from beneath the surface of your waiting, is not separate from you. It is not a prize located somewhere outside the field that you are trying to reach across the field to acquire. It is a resonance. It is a pattern in the field that matches the pattern that you are. And in a field, resonant patterns do not need to travel toward each other. They amplify each other. They call each other into greater coherence. They make each other more real. What has been waiting for you is not waiting outside of you. It is waiting in the field. And you are in the field. You have always been in the field. The only thing that has ever created the experience of distance, of separation, of waiting, is the layer of surface perception that has been telling you that you are here and the thing you want is over there, that you are the observer and the desired reality is the observed, that you are the one waiting and the arrival is somewhere in the future. Peel back that layer. Look at what is underneath. In the field, there is no here and there. There is no observer and observed in the way your surface mind has been understanding those terms. There is pattern and resonance and coherence in the continuous, dynamic, living process of reality organizing itself through the awareness of every point within it, including you, including this specific, unrepeatable, quantum-level pattern that is what you actually are, beneath every story you have ever told about yourself. And now I want to tell you something that the ancient traditions said in many different ways, that quantum mechanics is beginning to say in the language of physics, and that I want you to feel rather than just understand. The recognition of what you are is not something that happens to you, it is something that happens as you. The moment of recognition, the moment when the waiting ends, when the thing that has been yours forever finally becomes yours in your experience, That moment is not a moment when something arrives from outside. It is a moment when your awareness reaches a depth at which the distance between you and what is yours collapses. Not because the thing moved, because you stopped being located only at the surface. Let me show you this through a story. There was a woman named Sora who lived in a city built on layers. She had always known, in the way that certain people know things without being able to explain how they know them, that there was something beneath the city. Not beneath it in the literal sense of tunnels or foundations, though those were there too, but beneath it in a way she could not quite articulate. A depth to the place that she could feel when she walked its streets at certain hours, when the light was particular, when the noise of the surface thinned enough for her to hear something she could only describe as the city's actual voice. She had spent years looking for what she could feel. She had read the histories of the place, learned the names of everyone who had built it, and everyone who had torn it down, and everyone who had built it again. She had walked every street, mapped every district, traced the routes of water and power and transit that held the surface life of the city in motion. And she had found much that was interesting, much that was beautiful, much that explained the surface of the city in precise and satisfying ways. But she had not found the thing she was looking for. And then one afternoon, in a part of the city she had passed through hundreds of times without stopping, she sat down. Not because she had decided to sit down, not because she had a plan or a method or a theory about what sitting down in this particular place might reveal. She sat down because she was tired of looking, because the looking itself had become a kind of noise that was preventing her from hearing what the city was trying to tell her. She sat down and she stopped looking, and she simply became still. And in that stillness, the layer beneath the surface became visible. Not through her eyes, through something else, through a quality of attention that she had not been able to access while she was in motion, while she was searching, while she was using the surface of her awareness to scan the surface of the city for what she was looking for. In the stillness, she could feel the depth of the place. She could feel the layers beneath the layers, the city that existed before this city, and the landscape that existed before that, and the quality of the ground itself that had been there before any human hand had touched it. She could feel the pattern that ran through all of it, the thread of coherence that connected every layer from the deepest to the most recent surface. And she realized, sitting there in that stillness, that she had not been looking for something outside herself. She had been looking for the layer of herself that matched the layer of the city she could feel but not see. She had been trying to find, in the external geography of the place, a recognition of something in her own interior geography. And the reason she had not found it through looking was that looking kept her at the surface. The thing she was looking for was not at the surface, it was in the depth. And the depth was not somewhere to go. It was a quality of attention to arrive at. She had been chosen by the city in the sense that the city had been calling the specific pattern of her awareness toward it for her entire life. But she had not been able to receive that calling until she was still enough to hear it at the level where it was being transmitted, not at the surface level of historical fact and architectural detail, at the level of field resonance, at the level where her pattern and the city's pattern were already in contact, had always been in contact, and were simply waiting for her surface mind to stop generating enough noise to drown out the signal. When she stood up from that stillness, she knew where to go. Not because she had figured it out, because she had felt it. And what she found when she followed that feeling was not a discovery in the conventional sense. It was a recognition, something that had been hers all along, encoded in the deepest layer of a place she had been circling for years, waiting not for her to arrive, but for her awareness to reach the depth at which it was located. You have been Sora, not as a failure, not as a mistake. The circling, the searching, the years of feeling that you are close to something without being able to reach it, those were not wasted time. They were the surface process that was necessary to exhaust itself before the stillness could occur. They were the looking that had to happen before the seeing became possible. Every layer of searching that did not find what you were looking for was peeling back another layer of surface assumption, another layer of looking in the wrong direction, another layer of the noise that was covering the signal. And now we are at the layer where the signal becomes audible. What layer have you recently broken through? Was there a moment when something you always sensed beneath the surface of your life suddenly became visible? A pattern that dissolved the instant you looked at it directly, a truth that had been there all along waiting for your awareness to reach it. Drop it in the comments. Your recognition matters here. Let me tell you what the ancient traditions knew about the moment of recognition, because they mapped this with extraordinary precision, and the map they drew is one of the most important things you will encounter in this transmission. In the Upanishads, the ancient Indian texts that represent some of the deepest explorations of consciousness ever recorded, there is a teaching that is expressed in 4 words in Sanskrit. Tvam asi. The surface translation is, "Thou art that." And the surface interpretation of that translation is a kind of philosophical statement about the unity of individual consciousness with universal consciousness, which is true, but it is the thinnest layer of what the teaching is pointing toward. Beneath that, Tvam asi is describing the structure of recognition. It is describing what happens in the moment when an individual awareness, a specific, located, apparently separate point of consciousness, suddenly perceives its own nature clearly enough to see that what it has been calling itself and what it has been calling the world are not 2 different things. They are the same field, experienced from a particular point within it. And in that moment of recognition, the teaching says, something permanent occurs. Not a change in the external world, a change in the quality of awareness, a collapse of the superposition between the self that is waiting and the self that has already arrived. That is what Tvam asi means at its deepest layer. You are that. Not you will become that. Not you might achieve that under the right conditions. You are that. Present tense. Already. The recognition is not a destination. It is the discovery that you were never not there. The Zen tradition encodes the same thing in the concept of satori, the sudden awakening that is not a gradual accumulation of understanding, but a moment of immediate, total recognition. The Zen masters described it as the moment when you stop looking for something you lost and realize you have been holding it the entire time. The search ends not because you find what you were looking for in a new location, but because you recognize that the searching was itself the only thing creating the experience of distance between you and what was always already yours. The Sufi tradition, the mystical branch of Islam, speaks of the concept of kashf, which translates roughly as unveiling or disclosure. The Sufi understanding is that the divine reality, the deepest layer of what exists, is not hidden from human awareness because it is far away or because it is locked behind a barrier that only the worthy can pass through. It is hidden only by the veils of surface perception, the layers of conditioning, assumption, and habitual looking that prevent the awareness from seeing what is directly in front of it, beneath it, within it. Kashf is not the arrival of something new. It is the removal of what was blocking the view of what was always there. Do you feel the consistency across these traditions? They are all mapping the same territory. They are all describing the same moment from different angles. The moment when the veil lifts, the moment when the superposition collapses, the moment when what was yours forever becomes yours in your experience. And they are all saying the same thing about that moment. It is not an achievement. It is a recognition. It does not happen because you finally became worthy enough, or worked hard enough, or waited long enough. It happens because your awareness finally reached the depth at which the truth was always located. Now let's talk about what has been blocking that depth, because this is the layer that most spiritual teachings skip over. They tell you about the depth. They describe the territory. They give you maps and practices and frameworks, but they often skip the honest examination of what has been keeping you at the surface. And without that examination, the maps remain theoretical. The practices remain techniques you perform rather than depths you actually reach. So let me be precise about this. There are three primary veils that keep human awareness operating at the surface level. Three layers of conditioning that prevent the depth from becoming accessible. And each of them has a surface explanation and a deeper one. The first veil is the veil of unworthiness. And the surface explanation of unworthiness is that you have been told, in various ways throughout your life, that you are not enough, not smart enough, not disciplined enough, not spiritual enough, not whatever enough to deserve or receive or access the deeper layers of reality. That veil is real, and it is painful, and it is worth examining. But beneath it, there is something more structural. The veil of unworthiness is not fundamentally about what you were told. It is about the structure of surface perception itself. Surface perception, the mode of awareness that operates at the level of appearances, of comparison, of measurement against external standards, is inherently a mode of lack. Because at the surface level, you can always find evidence that something is missing. There is always someone who has more, has done more, has achieved more, has been recognized more. At the surface level, Worthiness is always a competition you can lose. And so the veil of unworthiness is not something that gets resolved by being told you are worthy enough. It gets dissolved by dropping beneath the level of perception where worthiness and unworthiness are even meaningful categories. At the quantum level, at the level of field and pattern and resonance, there is no such thing as an unworthy configuration of energy. There is only pattern. There is only the specific, unrepeatable shape of what you are. And that shape is not in competition with any other shape. It is not more or less worthy than any other pattern in the field. It is simply what it is. And what it is enough. Not enough in the sense of meeting some external standard. Enough in the sense of complete, in the sense of whole, in the sense of already containing everything necessary for the recognition that is waiting to occur. The second veil is the veil of time. And the surface explanation of this veil is that you believe the thing you are waiting for is in the future, that it will arrive at some point that has not yet come, that you are currently in the period before it, and that your task is to endure the before until the after arrives. That understanding of time is the surface layer of a much more interesting reality. In quantum mechanics, the relationship between time and reality is far stranger than the linear model your surface mind has been operating from. At the quantum level, particles do not experience time the way macro-scale objects do. The equations of quantum mechanics are, in a technical sense, time-symmetric. They work equally well going forward or backward in time. What this means, at a level of implication that physicists are still working through, is that the linear experience of time, past behind you, future ahead of you, present as the thin moving line between them, is a feature of surface perception, not a feature of fundamental reality. The ancient traditions knew this. The Hopi understanding of time describes it not as a line, but as a field, a space in which all moments coexist, in which what you call the past and what you call the future are both present in the now, accessible to an awareness that has learned to navigate the field rather than simply moving along the surface of the line. The ancient Egyptian understanding of time distinguished between chronos, sequential, linear time, the surface layer, and what they called zep-tepi, the first time, which was not a time in the past, but a quality of timeless presence in which the original pattern of anything could be accessed directly. When you are living in the veil of time, when you are experiencing your desired reality as something in the future, you are operating from the surface layer of temporal experience. You are treating time as a line and placing what you want at a point on that line that has not yet been reached. But beneath that, in the field, what you want is not located in the future. It is located in the depth, and depth is not a temporal dimension. You do not reach depth by waiting longer. You reach depth by going deeper, right now, in this moment, which is the only moment that has ever existed at the level where what is yours is waiting to be recognized. The third veil is the veil of separation, and this is the deepest of the three, and in some ways the one that contains the other two within it. The veil of separation is the fundamental surface level belief that you are here and what you want is there. that you are the one who is waiting, and the arrival is something other than you that will come to you from outside, that the self that is seeking and the reality that is sought are two different things. And at the surface level, that belief is entirely reasonable. It is what your senses report. You look out at the world and you see objects that are not you, experiences that are not yet yours, realities that are not yet your reality. The separation looks real, because at the surface level it is real. The table is not your hand. The life you want is not the life you currently have. The arrival has not yet arrived. But beneath that surface, at the quantum level, the separation is a feature of the scale at which you are looking, not a feature of what actually exists. At the quantum level, you and the field are not separate things in relationship. You are the field, locally. You are a pattern of the same energy that constitutes everything you are looking at, experiencing from a particular point within the totality of what exists. And what you are drawn toward, what has been pulling at you from beneath the surface of your waiting, is not separate from you. It is the field calling to itself through the particular instrument of your awareness. It is reality recognizing itself through the specific pattern that is you. When that recognition is complete, when your awareness is deep enough to see through the veil of separation, the thing that was waiting to be yours is already yours, not because it traveled to you, because the distance was always the veil, and the veil was always only a layer of perception. And the layer of perception dissolves the moment the awareness beneath it becomes available. Now I want to give you something practical, because this transmission is not meant to be only a philosophical exploration. It is meant to be an actual shift in the quality of your awareness, a practice that you can use right now, in this moment, to begin dissolving the veils and reaching the depth at which what is yours is already present. Here is what I want you to do. Find a moment of stillness, not necessarily physical stillness, though that helps. Internal stillness, the stillness that Sora found when she stopped looking. The stillness that is not the absence of thought, but the presence of an awareness that is deeper than thought. An awareness that can observe the surface of your mind without being located only at that surface. From that stillness, I want you to notice the thing that has been waiting, not by thinking about it, not by visualizing it or affirming it or sending it positive energy. Just notice the feeling of it, the pull of it, the way it exists as a kind of orientation in your awareness, a direction that your deepest attention keeps returning to, a quality of aliveness that activates when you get close to it, a resonance that you recognize even when you cannot name it precisely. That feeling is not a fantasy. It is not wishful thinking. It is the quantum field signaling to itself through your awareness. It is the pattern that is yours, resonating with the pattern that you are. It is the field showing you, through the mechanism of your own longing, the direction of your deepest alignment. Now, from that stillness, I want you to do something that your surface mind will resist. I want you to drop the future tense, not as a trick, not as an affirmation, as an actual perceptual experiment. Instead of feeling the thing you want as something that is coming, feel it as something that is. Present tense, already. Not as a pretense that your current surface reality is different than it is, but as an awareness of the depth beneath your current surface reality. The depth at which what is yours already exists in the field, already resonates with what you are, already constitutes a reality that is waiting not for time to pass, but for your awareness to reach the layer where it is located. Stay in that feeling for a moment. Feel what shifts. What you are feeling is not imagination. It is perception. It is the quality of awareness that the ancient traditions called gnosis, or prajna, or direct knowing, the mode of perception that operates from depth rather than surface, that accesses the field directly rather than through the intermediary of surface appearances. And in that mode of perception, the distance between you and what is yours is not a gap to be crossed. It is a layer to be dissolved, and the dissolving happens not through effort, but through depth, not through doing, but through being, not through waiting, but through arriving. Here, in the depth of this moment, at the layer of reality, where what is yours has always been present. Feel that. And now let me show you the deepest layer of all. Because everything we have covered so far, the quantum mechanics of superposition, the ancient maps of structural alignment, the three veils, the practice of depth perception, all of that is still, in a sense, a description of the mechanism. It is still answering the question of how recognition occurs. What I want to show you now is something that goes beneath the mechanism entirely, something that the deepest traditions pointed toward, and that quantum mechanics is beginning to gesture toward from the edges of its current understanding. The deepest layer is this: you are not chosen by something outside of you. The choosing is something that reality does through you. And the distinction between those two things is not semantic. It is the difference between an experience of life as something that happens to you and an experience of life as something that happens as you. Let me explain what I mean by that. The surface understanding of chosenness, even the sophisticated version we have been building through this transmission, still contains a subtle residue of the separation veil. It still implies, at its thinnest layer, a relationship between a chooser and a chosen, between the force that selects and the individual that is selected, between the field that contains the possibility and the awareness that recognizes it. Even when we understand that the recognition is internal rather than external, there is still a ghost of the old framework in the language. There is still a you that is doing the recognizing and a thing that is being recognized. But at the deepest layer, that distinction dissolves too. What the Upanishads were pointing toward with Tvam, what the Zen masters were pointing toward with the concept of no self, what the Sufi mystics were pointing toward with the concept of fana, the annihilation of the separate self in the divine reality, is a layer of experience in which the recognizer and the recognized are not two things, in which the awareness that is doing the seeing and the reality that is being seen are the same movement of the same field, experienced as two only from the surface level of individual perspective. At that level, the traditions called enlightenment, or liberation, or union, or by a dozen other names that all point to the same territory, the question of whether you are chosen becomes meaningless, not because you are not chosen, but because the question assumes a separation that does not exist at the depth where the answer lives. At that depth, you are not the one who was chosen. You are the choosing. You are not the pattern in the field that has been recognized. You are the field recognizing itself through the pattern. You are not the awareness that finally reached the depth where what was waiting was found. You are the depth. You are the finding. You are the moment of recognition itself, happening through the specific, unrepeatable, quantum-level configuration of consciousness that you have been calling yourself. And here is what that means for the waiting. The waiting ends not when something arrives from outside. The waiting ends when the awareness that has been located only at the surface level of the self, the surface self that is waiting, that is separate, that is reaching towards something it does not yet have. When that surface awareness drops into the depth of what it actually is, and in that depth, there is no waiting. There is only the continuous, dynamic, living process of reality, recognizing itself through every point within it, including you, especially you. This specific, unrepeatable, quantum-level you that has been circling the depth of itself for as long as you have been alive. The waiting is over, not because the future finally arrived. The waiting is over because you stopped being located only in the layer of yourself that was doing the waiting. And from the depth, looking back at the surface, you can see what was always true. What is yours was never not yours. It was waiting in the depth for the surface to become transparent enough to let the depth show through. That is what it means for something to be yours forever. Not possession, not acquisition, not even achievement. Recognition. And recognition, once it occurs at the depth we are talking about, cannot be undone. You cannot unsee what you have seen. You cannot return to the surface once you have felt the depth. You cannot go back to experiencing yourself as only a surface self once you have touched the layer of yourself, that is the field itself, looking through your eyes, thinking through your mind, feeling through your body, waiting through your waiting, and now, recognizing itself through your recognition. Let me take you back to Sora for a moment, because there is a layer of her story I did not tell you. When she stood up from that stillness in the city, when she followed the feeling to what had been waiting for her in the deepest layer of the place she had been circling, she found something she had not expected. She had expected to find an object, a thing, something external and concrete that would explain the pull she had been feeling her entire life. Something she could hold in her hands and say, "This is it. This is what I was looking for. This is what was mine." What she found instead was a room that had been there beneath the layers of the city for longer than any of the histories she had read could account for. A room that was, in every architectural sense, empty. No objects, no text, no artifacts. Just walls that had been constructed with a precision and a care that suggested whoever built them had understood something about the nature of space itself that the surface world had forgotten. Just a quality of silence that was not the absence of sound, but the presence of something that sound normally covered. Just a depth of stillness that was not the absence of movement, but the presence of something that movement normally obscured. And in that room, Sora understood something that she would spend the rest of her life trying to find language for. The room was not the thing that had been waiting for her. The room was the space in which she could finally see what had always been true. The room was the depth that the surface of the city had been pointing toward without being able to contain. The room was the layer beneath the layer beneath the layer. The place where the city's actual voice was not a voice at all, but a quality of presence that she recognized as her own deepest nature reflected back to her. She had not found something that was hers. She had found the layer of herself that had always been there. Beneath the searching and the circling and the years of almost finding, she had found the depth of herself that was not separate from the depth of the city, not separate from the depth of the world, not separate from the depth of the field that constitutes everything that exists. She had found the layer of herself that was never lost and therefore never needed to be found, only recognized, only seen clearly, only allowed to be what it had always been. And in that recognition, everything that had been waiting became hers, not because it traveled to her, because she arrived at the layer where it had always been present. You are in that room right now, not metaphorically, not aspirationally. Right now, in this moment, the depth of what you are, the quantum level, field constituted, ancient wisdom mapped, irreducibly real depth of what you actually are is present. It is not somewhere you need to travel to. It is not something you need to become. It is the layer beneath the layer you have been living at, and it has been there for every moment of your life, waiting not for you to arrive, but for your awareness to stop generating enough surface noise to drown out the signal it has been transmitting continuously. The signal is, this is yours. This has always been yours. This will always be yours. Not as a promise about the future, as a fact about the depth, about the layer of reality where what is yours and what you are not two different things, where the chosen and the choosing are the same movement of the same field, where the waiting and the arrival are the same moment seen from different layers of the same awareness. And now I want to speak to something specific, because if you are here, if this transmission found you, there is something particular that has been waiting. Not in general, not abstractly, something specific, a specific shape of life that you have been circling, a specific quality of experience that you have been reaching toward, a specific recognition that has been almost arriving for what feels like longer than it should have taken. I am not going to tell you what that is. I do not need to. You know what it is. You have always known what it is. It is the thing that activates when you get quiet enough. It is the thing that shows up in the moments between the surface noise of your daily life. It is the thing that you have sometimes let yourself fully feel and then immediately pulled back from, because fully feeling it made the distance between where you are and where it is too sharp to bear, I want to tell you something about that specific thing. It is not a fantasy, it is not wishful thinking, it is not a compensation for something you are afraid you cannot have. It is a quantum signal. It is the field showing you, through the mechanism of your own deepest longing, the pattern that is yours. The configuration of reality that resonates with the configuration that you are. The specific shape of the life that is the surface expression of your deepest nature. The Dharma level, Ma'at level, medicine level expression of what you actually are at the layer beneath the layer beneath the layer. And it has not been slow to arrive because you are not worthy of it. It has not been slow to arrive because the universe is testing you or withholding it or making you earn it. It has been slow to arrive in your experience because the veils we talked about, unworthiness, time, separation, have been keeping your awareness at the surface level, where what is yours appears to be at a distance rather than in the depth. And those veils are thinning right now, in this moment, as you receive this transmission, not because of anything magical about these words, because of the quality of attention you have been bringing to them, because something in you recognized when you chose to be here that there was a layer beneath the surface version of this conversation, and that recognition, that willingness to look beneath the surface, is itself the beginning of the veil dissolving. The willingness to look deeper is the depth beginning to look through you. If something in this transmission cracked a layer open for you, if there is a truth you always sensed but could not quite name until now, share it in the comments. What was hidden in plain sight that you can finally see? Let me give you something to carry with you from this transmission, not as a concept, as a practice, a way of moving through your life from this moment forward that is different from the way you have been moving through it. Every time you encounter the feeling of waiting, the familiar ache of something not yet arrived, the gap between where you are and where you sense you are supposed to be, I want you to do something different than what you have been doing. Instead of looking outward for the arrival, instead of scanning the surface of your life for evidence that the thing is coming, instead of calculating timelines and possibilities and reasons why it might or might not happen, I want you to go beneath. I want you to feel the waiting not as a gap, but as a signal, as the field pointing you toward the depth, where what is yours is already present, as the quantum resonance between your pattern and the pattern that matches it, transmitting through the mechanism of your longing, as the veil thinning, as the recognition approaching, not from the future, but from the depth. And then I want you to ask yourself, not with your surface mind, but from the stillness beneath it, what layer of yourself is the waiting asking you to reach? What depth of your own nature is the not yet arrived pointing you toward? What veil is the gap asking you to dissolve? Because the specific shape of what you are waiting for is always pointing at the specific layer of yourself that you have not yet fully inhabited. The relationship that has not arrived is pointing at the depth of your own capacity for love that you have not yet fully claimed. The creative expression that has not yet found its full form is pointing at the depth of your own nature that you have not yet fully trusted. The recognition that has not yet come from the world is pointing at the depth of your own self-recognition that you have not yet allowed to be complete. What is yours is waiting in the depth of you. And the moment you inhabit that depth, the moment you stop living only at the surface of yourself and begin to live from the layer where your actual nature is fully present, what is yours will be yours in your experience, not as a reward for the depth you reached, as the natural consequence of the resonance that was always there, finally unobstructed by the veils that were keeping it below the threshold of your surface perception. This is not a metaphor. This is quantum mechanics. This is the ancient map. This is the structure of how recognition works at every level of reality, from the subatomic to the cosmological. You are the chosen one in the only sense that has ever mattered. You are the specific configuration of consciousness that is capable of recognizing the specific pattern of reality that is yours. Not because you were selected from outside, because you are the selection itself. You are the field choosing to know itself through this particular shape, this particular pattern, this particular irreplaceable point of awareness that has been circling the depth of its own nature for as long as you have been alive. And the waiting is finally over. Not because something arrived from outside, because you are here, because you are at the depth. Because the veil between you and what is yours is thinner right now than it has ever been. Because the quality of attention you have been bringing to this transmission, the willingness to look beneath the surface, to feel the field, to consider that what is yours might be located in the depth rather than in the future, that quality of attention is itself the recognition beginning to occur. What has been revealed in this transmission cannot be unrevealed. You have felt the depth. You have touched the layer beneath the layer. You have encountered the quantum reality beneath the surface story of your waiting. And that encounter, even if it is still more feeling than full knowing, even if it is still more orientation than complete arrival, has changed something in the quality of your awareness, has thinned the veil, has brought you one layer closer to the core of what is already, permanently, irreversibly yours. Now I want to hear from you. In the space below this transmission, I want you to do something. I want you to write one sentence, not about what you want, about what you recognized, not about what is coming, about what you saw in the depth, not about the surface of your desire, about the layer beneath it that this transmission helped you touch. Because that recognition, your specific, particular, unrepeatable recognition of the layer of yourself that has been waiting to be seen, that is the data point that matters. That is the marker of the veil thinning. That is the evidence that what is yours is becoming yours in your experience. And when you write it, when you put it into language, even imperfect language, even language that only approximates what you felt, you are doing something that the ancient traditions understood as one of the most powerful acts of consciousness. You are declaring the depth from the surface. You are bringing the quantum reality into the domain of language, and therefore making it more available to the layer of yourself that operates in language. You are collapsing the superposition from the depth rather than from the surface, which means the reality that collapses into actuality is the one that matches your deepest pattern rather than your surface fears. Type what you recognized. One sentence, whatever comes. And if this transmission reached the layer it was meant to reach, if something in you felt the depth rather than just understood the concept, then share it. Not as promotion, as an act of lifting the veil for someone else. Because the person in your life who needs to hear this is not going to find it by accident. They are going to find it because someone who already felt the depth decided to extend the transmission further. Because someone who already touched the layer beneath the surface decided to point the way for someone else who has been circling the depth without knowing how to go beneath. When you share this, you are not simply passing along a video. You are giving someone access to a layer they have already sensed but could not reach alone. You are creating a shared depth between two fields of consciousness, and that shared depth strengthens the collective ability to see beneath surface reality. Lifting the veil for yourself and lifting the veil for someone else are not two different acts. They are the same recognition, moving through the field in two directions simultaneously. And if you find yourself returning to this, if the surface noise of the coming days makes the depth feel harder to access, come back to this transmission in a quiet moment, in the early hours before the world starts moving, or in the stillness before sleep, when the surface layers are thinnest and the depth is most available. The signal will be clearer each time you listen from that place. And now, the integration. Everything we have covered in this transmission, the quantum mechanics of superposition, the ancient maps of Dharma and Mart and medicine, the three veils of unworthiness and time and separation, the story of Sora and the room at the depth of the city, the practice of dropping beneath the waiting, the deepest layer where the chosen and the choosing are the same movement. All of that is not a collection of separate ideas. It is a single revelation seen from multiple angles, a single truth examined through multiple lenses, a single depth approached from multiple directions. And the single truth is this: what is yours at a level so deep and so structural and so quantum mechanically fundamental that no amount of surface level failure, delay, unworthiness, or waiting has ever changed it. What is yours not, because you earned it, or deserved it, or waited long enough for it. What is yours because you are the specific pattern of consciousness that resonates with it. Because at the level of the field, you and what is yours are not two separate things in a relationship of potential acquisition. You are two aspects of the same pattern, temporarily appearing separate at the surface level of reality, always already unified at the depth. The recognition of that unity, the moment when the surface experience of separation and waiting and almost having collapses into the depth experience of already being and already having and already being what you have been waiting to become. That moment is not in the future, it is in the depth, and the depth is here. It is always here. It is the layer beneath this moment, beneath this breath, beneath this awareness that is reading these words and feeling what they point toward. You have always been the chosen one in the sense that matters. Not chosen by something outside, chosen as the specific point of consciousness, through which a particular pattern of reality recognizes itself. And that choosing is permanent. It does not expire. It does not depend on your performance or your worthiness or your timeline. It is structural. It is quantum. It is ancient. It is the deepest layer of what you are. And now you know it, not just as a concept, as a felt recognition, as a layer of your own awareness that has been activated by the quality of attention you brought to this transmission, as a thinning of the veil between the surface of your life and the depth of what your life actually is. The veil is thinner than it was when you arrived here, and now you can see through it. Not perfectly, not completely, not in the way that makes every surface challenge disappear or every external delay resolve instantly, but in the way that changes the quality of your relationship to the waiting, in the way that makes the gap feel less like a distance to be crossed and more like a depth to be inhabited, in the way that transforms the experience of not yet arrived from a source of suffering into a signal pointing you toward the layer of yourself that is ready to be claimed. The waiting is not over because everything you want has materialized on the surface of your life. The waiting is over because you have touched the layer of yourself where what is yours is already present. And that touch, that recognition, is the beginning of the collapse, the beginning of the superposition resolving, the beginning of the quantum field selecting the reality that matches the depth of what you are rather than the surface of what you have been afraid to claim. What has been revealed cannot be re-hidden. You are not a surface dweller anymore. You have felt the depth. You have touched the layer beneath the layer. You have encountered, however briefly, however partially, the quantum reality of what you actually are beneath every story you have ever told about yourself. And that encounter changes the trajectory, not because of magic, because of resonance, because the awareness that has touched the depth carries the frequency of the depth with it back to the surface. And that frequency, the frequency of recognition, of depth perception, of seeing through the veil rather than stopping at it, that frequency changes what the field collapses into around you. It changes what superpositions resolve into actuality. It changes the quality of what is drawn into your experience. Not because the universe is rewarding your spiritual development, because you are the field. And the field organizes itself according to the frequency of the awareness that is moving through it, and the frequency of depth recognition, the frequency of an awareness that has stopped living only at the surface of itself. That frequency calls into actuality the patterns that match it, the patterns that are yours, the patterns that have always been yours, the patterns that were waiting in the depth for the surface to become transparent enough to let them through. This is what it means to win, not to acquire, to recognize, not to receive from outside, to claim from within, not to arrive at a future moment when the waiting is over, to arrive at the depth of this moment where the waiting was always already over. This is what is yours forever, not a thing, a recognition, not an acquisition, an awareness, not a destination, a depth, and you are in it now. Welcome to what was always beneath everything. Welcome to the layer that was always here, waiting not for time to pass but for awareness to arrive. Welcome to the recognition that changes not just what you have, but what you are. Welcome to the permanent, irreversible, quantum mechanically grounded, ancient wisdom mapped, experientially real understanding that what is yours has always been yours, is yours right now, and will be yours forever. Not because it was given to you, but because you are the giving. You are the field. You are the recognition. You are the depth. The veil has lifted, and what was hidden beneath it was you.